This week we begin a new Sefer Vayikra, a new part and story of Am Yisrael. Vayikra Hashem el Moshe. It begins with Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, calling Moshe. Vayikra, ukoreh, he calls to speak with him. Rashi explains that Kriya, when we call to someone, is Lashon Chiba, is an expression of love. HaKadosh Baruch Hu introduces, if you may, himself to Moshe through a kriya, by telling him that I have a story to tell. I have a relationship, a rapport that I want to create, and then, only then, does he go into all of the particulars, the details of what would be all of the korbanot, the sacrifices offered in the Ohel Moed. Well, I too have a story to tell, a story of love, a story of affection, and a special story of connection with our dear Gila. Yesterday was Gila's birthday, as many of you know, and we commemorated and celebrated to a certain extent her birthday with various events and chesed acts of kindness that all of us tried to demonstrate and to commit ourselves to in memory of Gila. On the final act, or the final episode that I was involved with at the end of this particular day, the day in which Gila would have turned 20 years old, I went to offer a lecture up north in Zichron Yaakov to Mada, to a group of paramedics who were finishing their course actually, and I gave them over the lecture called Gila's Way, the story of what happened to Gila, the tragedy, and what we can learn from it, hopefully to preserve lives for the future. And I wasn't sure whether or not I should go. I wasn't sure whether or not it was the right thing to do at the end of such a day, a difficult day, in which we'd be involved in many different things. But I said, you know what better way to commemorate Gila's memory than to go and offer this special lecture to paramedics who can make such a difference and impact in saving lives for the future. That would be the exceptional mark, the exceptional means of commemorating this day and ending the day at its summit. And so I went to give this lecture. And after, as I finished the talk, as I finished the presentation, as I always do, I invited everyone who participated to come and speak to me afterwards if they'd like to share their feelings, share their thoughts, criticism, etc. And a number of people came over to me, as many times happens, and they spoke to me about their own experiences or questions or feelings that they wanted to share with me. And that was very nice. The lecture, the presentation, was held at a hotel, and following the presentation, I ventured into the lobby innocently. And as I came into the lobby, there was a young lady, one of the paramedics. She was there with her stethoscope in full uniform, full garb, and she approached me slowly. And she said to me, I wasn't sure if I really wanted to speak with you, but then as I saw you coming into the lobby, I said, it's really the right thing to do. And she came to me and she said to me, I want you to know that after hearing your story, as I heard your story about Gila, I was the paramedic who found Gila after she died. She died at the hospital, in the Beit Cholim Hadassah, and I was the paramedic who found her and brought her to the trauma center after she had died and left this world. And she said, when I found her and when I was dealing with bringing her to the trauma center, what was going through my mind is, this is probably a person who suffered, who was broken from her family, who didn't have parents, someone who was a juvenile delinquent, and this is where it led to. But then I sat in your presentation, and I heard just the opposite. This was a beautiful, lovely girl whose life was filled with happiness and joy, who so much wanted to live and anticipate a future that would be filled with action and help others. And this was someone who had a story behind her face. And I learned, she said to me, as a paramedic, how important it is to understand that every single case, every single deceased, lo aleinu, God forbid, that I come across has a story behind them. Every person who I am treating in the middle of a medical treatment or a medical emergency has a story behind them. And I understood that this is the sensitivity that I have to take with me wherever I go. Of course, I was totally moved and touched, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I understood that indeed this was the right thing to do, that I had to come give this presentation, otherwise I never would have met this young lady who was there immediately after Gila left this world. And this was revealed to me on Gila's birthday. It's unbelievable as we approach Pesach, the emphasis that is placed on telling a story. V'yigarecha lebincha bayom hahu lemor. Special mitzvah that we never have in any part of the Torah except on Seder night. Tell a story. A story can paint 1,000 pictures. A story can tell 1,000 words, can tell an unbelievable incident, and can have such a striking impact on our lives. Gila had a tremendous story. And what's amazing to see on her birthday is that even as she left this world, she still continues to have a story to tell us. Let us hope that that story, as we commemorated yesterday, continues to resonate with us and continues to promote life, and that behind every person there is a story to tell. That is the right way, the only way, the Gila Way. Shabbat Shalom.